For the last 20 years, there has been one piece of financial advice that shows up every single time someone admits they are struggling with money. It doesn't matter if it's a podcast, a best-selling book, a morning news segment, or a YouTube video. It doesn't matter if it's coming from a $20 million celebrity financial guru or your next-door neighbor who read a thing about investing. At some point, always someone brings up the coffee. The $5 latte. The daily treat. The small pleasure you're apparently too irresponsible to give up. Do you know how much that costs you over a lifetime? They ask you. As if you've never done basic math. As if the $55,000 you still owe on your car is somehow fine. They look at your $5 cup of coffee and see the root cause of your financial problems. And I need you to understand something important. That advice, that idea that your latte is why you're broke, that might be the single most expensive lie ever sold to the middle class. My name is Felix, and I make easy-to-understand animated videos about personal finance. If that's something that interests you, consider subscribing. Because today, we are doing the full math that the financial expert industry has been praying you never actually sit down and run. We're going to cover 3 things. First, exactly who invented the coffee advice and how much money they personally made selling it to you. Second, the actual numbers, what your coffee really costs versus what the financial industry would rather you not look at. And third, what actually is draining your money and the exact 4-step plan to fix it. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the most powerful financial institutions in the world have a deeply profitable reason to keep you obsessing over your morning drink. Let's start at the beginning. The year is 1999. A financial advisor named David Bach is about to launch a career that will make him a very, very wealthy man. He coins a concept called the latte factor. The idea is simple. You spend $5 a day on coffee. That's $150 a month. Over time, with compound interest, that adds up to a fortune you're flushing away on caffeine. David Bach turned that idea into 13 books. He appeared on every major talk show in America. He built a media empire. His estimated net worth today? Around $20 million. Here's the part they don't put on the book cover. He made $20 million teaching poor people to blame their coffee for being poor. Think about that for a second. He identified a $5 behavior that mostly affects the working class and turned it into a publishing empire, which means the latte factor made him rich, not you, and he wasn't alone. Financial celebrity Suze Orman famously said that buying coffee is like peeing $1 million down the drain. $1 million for coffee. Now, Suze Orman's net worth? Estimated at around $75 million. Notice a pattern here. All of these incredibly wealthy financial experts made their fortunes telling struggling people that a $5 cup of coffee is the problem, not the system. Not the structural costs that have been quietly rising for 2 decades while wages stayed flat. Not the financial products specifically engineered to extract money from you automatically every single month. Your coffee. This is what I'm calling the distraction doctrine, and it's the concept at the heart of everything we're going to unpack today. The distraction doctrine is a very simple, very powerful idea. If you can get a person to focus intensely on a small, visible expense they feel guilty about, they will stop asking questions about the large, invisible expenses they've been conditioned to accept as normal. $5 of daily coffee guilt, manufactured and sold at $20 million of personal profit. Let's go do the actual math, and I want you to stay with me here, because the numbers are going to surprise you. Yes, coffee is technically a cost. Let's be completely honest about that. If you buy a $5 coffee every weekday, 5 days a week, you're spending roughly $107 per month. Call it $110. Over a full year, that's about $1,300 in coffee. Now here's the part the financial gurus love. If instead of buying that coffee, you had invested that $110 per month in an index fund tracking the S&P 500, which has averaged roughly 7% annually over the long term, after 30 years, you would have approximately $133,000. That is a real number. I'm not dismissing it. But now I need you to hold that number. Hold it tightly. because we're about to put it next to the numbers that nobody in the personal finance industry wants to talk about. The average new car payment in America right now is $748 per month. That's not a luxury car. That's the average. Add the average full coverage car insurance premium, about $200 a month, and you're looking at almost $950 a month just to operate one vehicle. Let's do the same 30-year investment calculation. $950 per month, invested at 7% annually for 30 years comes to approximately $908,000. Let me say that again. The average American car situation, one vehicle, average payment, average insurance, has an opportunity cost of nearly $1 million over 30 years. Your coffee? $133,000. Your car? $908,000. The coffee advice isn't just wrong. It's off by nearly 700%, and nobody mentions that in the book. But wait, I am not done yet. Let's talk about where most of that car payment actually goes, because this is where it gets genuinely alarming. Imagine someone, let's call him Ryan. Ryan is 28 years old, earns $65,000 a year, and does everything he was told was reasonable. He finances a $38,000 car. Average price for a new car in 2025. His loan is for 72 months. That's 6 years at 7% interest. Because he wasn't told to negotiate. Because the dealer told him the monthly payment was totally manageable. His monthly payment, $595. So far, so normal, right? Happens every day in America. But here's what actually happens to Ryan's $38,000 car on the day he drives it off the lot. It immediately loses 10 to 15% of its value. That's between $3,800 and $5,700 evaporated before he even gets it home. By year 3, the car is worth maybe $22,000. Ryan still owes $28,000. He is now upside down by $6,000, meaning the thing he borrowed all that money for is worth $6,000 less than he owes. Over the full 72-month loan, Ryan will have paid $42,840 total, $4,840 more than the car cost because of interest. And the car by then, worth maybe $15,000. Ryan paid $42,000. Ryan paid $42,000 for an asset now worth $15,000. That is not a car payment. That is a $27,840 leak. Now multiply that by the average American, who trades in their car every 6 years and does this their entire adult life. This is the invisible tax, the money draining quietly from your account every month in ways that feel normal, feel expected, feel like just how it works. Meanwhile, someone is very carefully pointing at your coffee. But here's where it gets really interesting. And by interesting, I mean, I need you to sit down. Let me build the complete picture of what the average American household is actually dealing with today. Not hypotheticals. Real numbers. Median household income in the U.S. right now, roughly $83,000 a year. That sounds okay, right? Let's see what it actually is. After federal taxes, FICA and state taxes at an effective blended rate of around 25%, you take home around $5,200 per month. That's your real starting number. Everything else gets subtracted from here. Now let's subtract the real costs. Average rent, $1,962 per month. Let's use that. That leaves $3,238. There goes the biggest fixed cost in your life. And remember, rents have risen 30% since 2019. Wages, only 20%. You're already running a structural deficit before you buy a single thing. $3,238 remaining. Let's keep going. Average car payment for the household, $748. Car insurance, $200. We're down to $2,290. Groceries for a household, $504 per month, according to recent data. That leaves $1,786. Health insurance employee contribution, roughly $570 per month for family coverage. That leaves $12,016. Student loan payment for the average borrower, around $310 per month. That leaves $906. Utilities, phone, and internet, a conservative $350 combined. We're now at $556 a month. For everything else, gas, clothing, any car repair, ever. A dentist appointment, a kid's school trip, a birthday present, a moment of unexpected anything. And we haven't even subtracted the coffee yet. Your $5 latte runs about $110 a month. Subtract it, and you're at $446. $446 of discretionary breathing room in a month. On a household income that the financial press calls upper middle class. Here's what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like checking your balance before you confirm a grocery order. It feels like doing the mental math at the dentist before they tell you what's wrong. It feels like seeing a check engine light come on and your first thought isn't, I should get that fixed. It's how much will this delay my rent? It feels like every single celebration in your life has a financial consequence attached to it. It feels like you're not living. You're executing a holding pattern, praying nothing goes wrong, and somewhere a millionaire is selling a book telling you the problem is the coffee. Now, you might be thinking something right now, and I want to address it directly, because it's a reasonable objection. Okay, but if someone eliminated the coffee and invested it, that is a real benefit. You're right. Mathematically, it is. I am not here to tell you math is wrong. What I am telling you is that the advice is a deliberate misdirection. Here is how the distraction doctrine works in practice. Because the advice is technically true in isolation, it gives financial gurus a way to appear helpful while quietly avoiding the systemic issues that would actually make a difference. Issues that, if you understood them fully, would make you considerably less likely to buy their books, subscribe to their premium coaching, or feel like financial salvation is just a habit tweak away. The latte advice is technically accurate the same way telling someone with a broken leg to take a vitamin C supplement is technically accurate. Yes, vitamin C is good. But it is not the relevant intervention. The relevant intervention in both cases involves structural problems, not personal vices. Let me give you the single most powerful example of this. Since 2001, median rents in the U.S. have risen by 25% AD, adjusted for inflation. Over that same period, median incomes grew by just 5% in real terms. That's a 20% structural gap, completely outside your control, accumulating silently every single year. How many coffees do you need to stop buying to close a 20% real income gap that's been growing for 25 years? The math doesn't work, and they know it. So what does work? This is the part they should have taught instead. The real enemy isn't your $5 coffee. The real enemy is what I call the macro leak, the large normalized monthly fixed costs that are extracting hundreds or thousands of dollars from you automatically, that you've been trained to accept as just how life works. Here's what actually moves the needle, broken down into 4 specific actions. Number 1, attack the big fixed costs, not the small variable ones. Your car situation is worth scrutinizing first because the numbers are devastating. The average American spends $948 per month, payment plus insurance, on one vehicle. If that vehicle is financed on a new car with an average 7% loan, you are paying interest on an asset that is simultaneously losing value. That is a double drain. The action step. If you have more than 3 years remaining on a car loan and you are underwater, meaning you owe more than the car is worth, do not trade it in at a dealership. Pay it down aggressively first. If you are shopping for a car right now, used cars 2 to 4 years old retain roughly 60% of a new car's value while eliminating the steepest depreciation years. A 2022 model instead of a 2026 model with a 5% loan instead of 7 could save you $200 to $300 per month. Do that for 10 years? That's $36,000. Not from cutting coffee, from one informed car decision. Number 2. Attack the interest rate on your existing debt, not just the balance. The average American carries $6,715 in credit card debt. The average credit card interest rate, roughly 22% annually. That means the average person is paying around $1,473 per year just in interest, with zero principal payoff. That is $1,200 a year disappearing into pure profit for the credit card company. The action: if your credit score is above 680, you likely qualify for a personal consolidation loan or a balance transfer card at a significantly lower rate. Even moving from 22% to 12% on $6,700 of debt saves you about $670 per year immediately. That is already more than 5 months of coffee. Number 3. Fix the savings rate before the spending habits. The financial guru advice has everything backwards. They say, eliminate the coffee first, save what's left. But the behavioral science is clear. If you wait to have money left over to save, it will never happen. The system is designed to absorb every available dollar. The correct order: automate a savings transfer on the day you get paid, before you can spend it. Even $100 per paycheck. Even $50. The dollar amount matters less than the automation. When saving happens automatically, it stops being a decision. When it's a decision, life finds a way to override it every time. Every single time. Number 4. Audit your subscriptions and recurring charges. Not the discretionary ones, the forgotten ones. This is the one most similar to the coffee advice, but with a critical difference. The target isn't the things you consciously enjoy. The target is the things you are paying for and have completely forgotten about. A 2024 study found that the average American underestimates their monthly subscription spending by $85 per month. That is over $1,000 a year leaking out of your account in $9.99 and $14.99 increments that you have completely stopped thinking about. A gym membership you haven't used since January. A streaming service you forgot you added during the free trial. A software subscription for a project you finished 2 years ago. Go to your last 2 bank statements right now this week and highlight every recurring charge. Cancel anything you haven't used in 30 days. This is not glamorous advice, but it is the actual version of the latte principle applied to the spending you are not enjoying rather than the spending you are. So here's where we land. And I want to bring this back to where we started. David Bach and Sue Zorman and every other financial celebrity who built a fortune on the latte concept are not necessarily evil people. They may genuinely believe in what they teach, but they are selling a product. And the product has a built-in limitation. The product works best if you believe that the source of your financial problem is a personal failing, a weakness, a lack of discipline. Because if you believe that, you will keep buying the books, keep paying for the courses, keep showing up to the seminars. If instead you understood that rents have outpaced wages by 10 percentage points since 2019, that the average car contract is a mathematical trap, that credit card interest rates are at decade highs while the minimum wage hasn't moved, you would stop buying the guilt and start demanding structural change. And that is not a great business model for them. This isn't about your coffee. It was never about your coffee. Your financial situation is the result of a system specifically calibrated to extract the maximum possible amount from you in costs, interest, rent, and depreciation, while keeping your attention fixated on your $5 habits. You are not failing. You are fighting every month against a set of structural forces that are operating at a massive scale, with massive resources, against a person who was never given the actual framework to understand them. Now you have the framework. The coffee? Keep it if it makes your morning better. Genuinely. $110 a month of actual daily joy for a person working this hard? That is not a financial crime. That is a human being choosing to exist rather than just survive. But the car loan, audit it. The credit card rate, attack it. The savings automation, set it up this week before the next paycheck lands. The forgotten subscriptions, cancel them tonight. That's the real math. Not the math that sells books. The math that actually changes your life. If this video gave you a new way of looking at your financial situation, and I genuinely hope it did, the best thing you can do right now is share it with one person who needs to hear it. Not because it helps the channel, but because this information changes decisions, and decisions made differently and consistently change lives. I'll see you in the next one.